Hare Krishna Madhavi, is there any possibility of you sharing the screen?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, I can share the screen.
Perfect. Let me make you co-host then.
The words for today.
17?
3:10:17, right, Mataji?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरे धारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी यशोदानंदना ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावन चारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय श्री राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी यशोदानंदना व्रज जन रंजन यशोदा नंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 रामा 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे जय राधा शरद बिहारी राधा शरद बिहारी राधे जय राधा शरद बिहारी राधा शरद बिहारी राधे जय जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी जय जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी निताई गौरा हरि बोल निताई गौरा हरि बोल जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन धाम की जय श्री गंगा माई की जय श्री जमुना माई की जय भक्तिमती तुलसी महारानी की जय समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल ऑल ग्लोरीज टू दी असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज हरे कृष्ण all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नष्टकी। Hare Krishna, good morning. Today we are reciting from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3rd, Chapter 10th, Divisions of Creation, and verse 17. Let me take this verse out and I'm going to share the screen. Okay. वैकारिको देवसर्गः पञ्चमो यन्मयं मनः षष्ठस्तु तमसा सर्गो यस्तव अबुद्धिकृता प्रभो। वैकारिको देवसङ्ग्रह पञ्चमो यन्मयं मनः षष्ठस्तु तमसा सर्गो यस्तव अबुद्धिकृता प्रभो। वैकारिको सग्रह पञ्चमो यन्मयं मनः शास्तस्तु तमस सर्गो यस्तव अबुद्धिकृता प्रभो। Anyone would like to recite this verse?
Hare Krishna. Ekariko deva sargah panchmo yanmayam manah shashtutam sargo yastva buddhi krita prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
वैकारिको देवसर्गः पञ्चमो यन्मयं मनः षष्ठस्तु तं सः सर्गो यस्त्वा बुद्धिकृतः प्रभो.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Vaikariko deva sarga panchamo yanmayam mana shashtastu tamasas sargo yastva abuddhi krita prabho.
Thank you, Mataji.
Can I just make a request? If Amol Prabhu is there, if he could live stream the class, I'd try to send him a chat, but if not, I'll just do it later.
Amol Prabhu, if you are there, the message is for you. I don't know if...
You can just get started with your class.
Hare Krishna. I would like to recite.
Yes, please.
Vaikariko deva sarga panchamo yanmayam manah pasashtu tamasah sargo yastva buddhi kratah prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Thank you all for reciting. Synonyms. Vaikarikaha, interaction of the mode of goodness. Deva, the demigods or controlling deities. Sargaha, creation. Panchamaha, fifth. Yat, that which. Mayam, sum total. Manaha, mind. Shastaha, sixth. Two, but. Tamsaha, of darkness. Sargaha, creation. Yaha, that which. Two, expletive. Abuddhi kritaha, made foolish. Prabhoha, of the master. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The fifth creation is that of the controlling deities by the interaction of the mode of goodness, of which the mind is the sum total. The sixth creation is the ignorant darkness of the living entity by which the master acts as a fool. Purport: the demigods in the higher planets are called devas, because they are all devotees of Lord Vishnu. Vishnu bhaktaha smrato deva asuras tad viprayah. All the devotees of Lord Vishnu are devas or demigods, whereas all others are asuras. That is the division of devas and asuras. Devas are situated in the mode of goodness of material nature, whereas the asuras are situated in the mode of passion or ignorance. The demigods or controlling deities are interested with departmental management of all the different functions of the material world. For example, one of our sense organs, the eye, is controlled by light. Light is distributed by the sun rays, and their controlling deity is the sun. Similarly, mind is controlled by the moon. All other senses, both for working and for acquiring knowledge, are controlled by different demigods. The demigods are assistants of the Lord in the management of material affairs. After the creation of the demigods, all entities are covered by the darkness of ignorance. Each and every living being in the material world is conditioned by his mentality of lording it over the resources of material nature. Although a living entity is the master of the material world, he is conditioned by ignorance, by the false impression of being the proprietor of material things. The energy of the Lord is called avidya. The energy of the Lord called avidya is the bewildering factor of the conditioned souls. The material nature is called avidya or ignorance, but to the devotees of the Lord engaged in pure devotional service, this energy becomes vidya or pure knowledge. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. The energy of the Lord transforms from Mahamaya to Yogamaya and appears to pure devotees in her real feature. The material nature, therefore, appears to function in three phases: as the creative principle of the material world, as ignorance, and as knowledge. As disclosed in the previous verse, in the fourth creation, the power of knowledge is also created. The conditioned souls are not originally fools, but by the influence of avidya function of the material nature, they are made fools, and thus they are unable to utilize knowledge in the proper channel. By the influence of darkness, the conditioned soul forgets his relationship with the Supreme Lord and is overwhelmed by attachment, hatred, pride, ignorance, and false identification, the five kinds of illusion that cause material bondage. Translation one more time. The fifth creation is that of the controlling deities by the interaction of the mode of goodness, of which the mind is the sum total. The sixth creation is the ignorant darkness of the living entity by which the master acts as fool. So I'm going to recite prayers of Mangalacharan. Whosoever, I'm sure everybody knows about these prayers. These prayers come under Shisht Parampara, or our Acharyas have established this, chanting of prayers before any discussion, because it's a symbol of gratitude towards those personalities who have given us this treasure of knowledge. So these prayers are important, although we might think that these prayers may be a ritualistic thing before starting any discussion on spiritual topics, but these prayers are really important. So whosoever knows these prayers Please chant these prayers along with me. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhuva evacha patita nama pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we are reading from chapter Canto 3rd, chapter 10. The Srimad Bhagavatam, as we all know, is the ripened fruit of all the Vedic literature. And there are 10 subject matters which has been discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam. And these 10 topics have only been discussed just to emphasize the importance of the 10th topic. The other 9 topics have been explained by Shukadev Goswami in this literature. So these 10 topics are very important. And why these topics are important? Because when we don't know about these topics, then we don't get what is going on. So, and why the creation or Srishti Leela have been explained again and again by in different sections of Bhagavatam. The reason, of course, the first reason is that we want to know before going into 10th canto and hearing the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, it's very important for us to understand the supremacy of Krishna, that he is not an ordinary cowherd boy who is running here and there, dancing with gopis, stealing butter. He is not a ordinary boy. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in order to establish that very fact, all these things, process of creation especially, have been explained. That Krishna is not just playing his flute and impressing gopis around him, but what is the real position of the Supreme Lord? Also, these topics have been discussed or explained just so that this living entity or jiva can understand the relationship with the Supreme and as well as with Prakriti, which is the inferior energy of the Lord. So many times we have heard that the Supreme Lord possesses 3 main potencies: internal potency, external potency, and marginal potency. And Lord Sri Krishna also, he is explaining this fact in chapter 7 also of Bhagavad Gita. So these 3 energies Lord is possessing, and with the play of all these 3 energies, spiritual world and material cosmic manifestation, the Supreme Lord is maintaining. So this jiva, this living entity or the marginal potency of the Lord, has a relationship with the external energy of the Lord as well as the Supreme Lord. So that relationship, or we call it Sambandha Jnana. Sambandha means relation. The Sambandha Jnana has been explained by giving again and again the process of creation. His Grace Anand Chaitanya Prabhu very nicely brought in one of his last sessions in Bhagavatam the similarities between Big Bang and what Bhagavatam is saying about the process of creation. And yes, the scientists, they have partial information about the whole picture. But when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, as the students of Srimad Bhagavatam, we get to understand the entire picture of the process of creation. And that's why even being technical, this topic has been repeated so many times in Srimad Bhagavatam. And also, I remember almost all my discussions, I just bring out these 10 topics. And if in being students of Bhagavatam, we are not aware with these 10 topics, then it is little bit difficult to understand other the topics which has been explained in different cantos. As Jiva Goswami, one of the leading Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharya, he has explained that these 10 topics are being distributed in some proportions uh, in each of the canto, in each and every canto. So it's very important for us to understand and to know the meaning as well as the Sanskrit also, Sanskrit words for these 10 subject matters which are forming the context or the content of Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 2nd, chapter 10, verse number 1 talks about these 10 topics. Atra sargas visargas cha sthanam poshanam utihi manvantari ishanu katha nirodha mukti ashraya. So sarga is the elemental creation or the creation of 23 elements which has been done by Mahavishnu. And this sarga has been prominently explained in Canto 2nd and in Canto 3rd. Canto 3rd. And in this chapter 10th, we are not only going to discuss about sarga or the primary creation of elements by Mahavishnu, but also visarga, the secondary creation, which Brahmaji is going to do by using the ingredients or elements which are available or has already been created by Mahavishnu. So sarga is primary creation or the creation of the 23 basic elements. And visarga is secondary creation or the creation by Lord Brahma after the using these 23 elements. Really quickly, we are going to refresh these 10 topics and then we are going to get into the discussion for today's chapter. So Visarga is secondary creation. Sthanam is the division of planetary systems, or Sthanam when this living entity is being placed according to the karma, according to the previous karma or the fruitive baggage, what karma, what prarabdha. Prarabdha is the manifestation of the reactions of previous fruitive activities. According to that prarabdha, where this living entity is going in one planet, in what type of gross body this living entity is getting, that has been decided, and Brahmaji is, put in one of the 14 planetary system. That is Sthanam. Poshanam is protection by the Lord. So protection by the Lord, for materialistic, this topic may sound like protection of material objects, which is also true. Lord protects the material objects and is providing air, wind, and all the things which is very important for survival of the living entity. But also protection by the Lord or Poshanam here in Srimad Bhagavatam mostly refers to the protection by the Lord towards his devotees and protection of the bhakti or the devotional service. That's the part Poshanam. Then Utiha, the creative impetus. What is this creative impetus? We just hear the name, but what is the meaning? So when this living entity, we are going to discuss that the fool, when the master becomes the fool, when this living entity covers by avidya and or ignorance, covered by avidya or ignorance, which is made up of mode of darkness or tamoguna, this living entity forgets its real identity. And from beginningless time, Beginningless, this living entity is bereft of the knowledge of Paratatvam, or the supreme absolute truth. And because of this reason, and covered by avidya, this living entity just forget about its real identity and start connecting itself with the with those identity which this living entity is not. And because of that reason, the desire for performing activities, fruitive activities, arise. And the inclination for doing fruitive activities, both in both pious or impious work, comes under the topic utiha, yeah, or uti, the creative impetus. Manavantara. Manavantara is the changing of manus in one day of Brahma. So the stories have been explained, have been given by Maitreya Muni to Vidura also, and also um, Sutta Goswami is explaining, and then Shukdev is explaining to Parikshit Maharaj about the different manus. Basically, 8th canto prominently brings out the changing of different, the stories of different manus. Also, canto 10, 9th also. So there are 14 manus in one day of Brahmaji, and these 14 manus have a period of 71 Chatur Yuga cycles. One Yuga cycle is Satyug, Treta Yug, Draupar Yug, and Kali Yug. One Yuga cycle. So 71 of Chatur Yuga cycle is forms the lifespan of one Manu. And there are 14 such Manu in one day of Sri Brahmaji, whose one day of Sri Brahmaji, 12 hours. 12 hours of Brahmaji is equal to 1000 Mahayugas, or 1000 Chaturyugas. Ishanukatha is the science of God, or incarnation, stories of the incarnations of Lord Hari. Nirodha, dissolution. So what is this dissolution? Dissolution, when this living entity, if this living entity, after getting the human form of life, does not just cross this material covering, or we can say by doing a devotional service, if this living entity just failed in its attempt to just go out of the cycle of birth and death, or out of material universe in this lifetime, and or for the lifetime when the material universe is existing. So when the annihilation happens, the entire cosmic manifestation annihilates and goes back into Mahavishnu. At that time, these living entities, they go back along with their own karma in the body of Karanodakshai Vishnu or Mahavishnu. That is the temporary relief from the material miseries, and that's called Nirodha. Nirodha, or dissolution, or temporary relief from material miseries by merging into the body of Mahavishnu. Mukti, liberation. Liberation, liberation. What's the meaning of liberation? When this living entity, the permanent situation of this living entity after leaving the changeable, subtle and gross bodies. That's called mukti. 5 types of mukti. Moksha has been explained, and further, even one step further than this moksha or mukti, is the loving devotional service of Vrajanandan Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. And that's the theme which comes in Ashraya Tattva, the supreme shelter. And the supreme shelter has been defined, from whom everything is emanating, and who is the source of everything, and who is the absolute truth. So these are the 10 topics. And as I said, 9 topics has been explained just to bring out the importance of Ashraya Tattva, the supreme shelter. Now, going on to our today's chapter 10th, 10 types of creation, or 10 types of division of creation. So we have already read about it, but in this chapter, Maitreya Muni is presenting it in the form of types of creation. You know, the first type of creation, this happened in first step, this happened in next step, and the other thing has happened there in third step, fourth step. So basically, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakuri says that there are 9 types of creation. Out of these 9, 6 are primary creation, or 6 creation comes under the topic of Sarga, which Mahavishnu creates, or first Purusha Avatara in this material universe, he creates. 6 um, 6 primary creations, and then 3 are secondary creation, which has been done by Lord Brahma. And the 10th creation is the mixture of both Sarga and Visarga, or we can say the mixture of the creation which has been done by the Supreme Lord Mahavishnu and also by Brahma. So that's the 10th creation. So let's start from the beginning of this chapter, because it's very important to understand the context. Otherwise, this, if we take this sloka, this verse 17th verse in isolation, there will be no connecting the dots. So we are going to connect the dots. I'm sure we have been listening throughout, every day, every sloka, but it's always good to connect the dots from the previous sloka. So in this this chapter starts with the question of Vidura. Vidura wants to know about the creation of Brahma, how Brahmaji has created, how Brahmaji, who is the grandfather of the planetary systems or planetary inhabitants, how he, from his own body and mind, he created everything. So prior to this chapter, we have seen that Brahmaji, he prayed to the Supreme Lord Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and Garbhodakshai Vishnu, he benedicted him that with the power of creation, and then he disappeared. And then Vidura asked this question because this conversation is going in between Maitreya Muni and Vidurji, Vidura and Maitreya Muni. And Vidura is asking question again, how Brahmaji created. And then Brahmaji, Maitreya Muni, he started answering Vidura's question. And he said that after Lord disappeared, Brahmaji, he engaged into his meditation for 100 celestial year, as Lord advised him. You just go into meditation, perform some austerities. And we know that this is the story of first day of 51st year of Brahmaji's day. And prior to this, prior to this day, at the end of Brahmaji's day, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, he blinked for a moment. And everything went back into the belly of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So this material universe is still there. Material universe is still there. And this material universe is still there. And Garbhodakshai Vishnu's belly, everything went back. And then Brahmaji, and first day, he came back, and still there is air or wind and waters of devastation from the previous day. From the previous day. So then Brahmaji, he went into meditation for 100 celestial year. And thereafter, when Brahmaji was situated on the lotus, he saw that the lotus and water, lotus on which he is sitting, now on the first day of 51st year of Brahmaji's life, he just again the creation happened. And the lotus came out from the belly of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Again, the stem is there, and Brahmaji is sitting on the top of the lotus. And then Brahmaji saw, who was situated on the lotus, he saw that the lotus and water, they were trembling in the in the wind because of the devastation. Still, the wind of devastation was revolving around. And and now, because Brahmaji has already got benediction from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and his knowledge is also being increased from his increased meditation and his prayers to the Supreme Lord. So Brahmaji, he destroyed the wind along with water. And Brahmaji saw that the entire lotus has been spread on the Satyaloka. Entire lotus. And then Brahmaji thought, let me just create the planets as they were before, existing before the destruction. Brahmaji thought like that. So after thinking like that, Brahmaji, he entered into the lotus. Entered into the lotus, and he made himself fixed in the creation of the planets by the Lord. And then he divided that one lotus into 3 parts. So already everything is there, but Brahmaji, he is doing it. He is doing it with his consciousness, or with his mind. He is just dividing everything, one lotus, into 3 parts. And then again, he made more subdivisions of these 3 parts into 14 different planets. First, he divided into 3 and then into 14. So after this, Brahmaji, Vidura asked again to Maitreya about time. And because, why he asked for the time? Because of the presence of Kali Shakti of the Lord, because of the presence of the time. Time is as powerful as the Supreme Lord. Time is eternal as the Supreme Lord. And by the power of time, everything is happening. Even Brahmaji went into meditation for 1000 celestial years. Time is working. So time, Vidura wanted to know about the time. And then when Vidura wanted to know about the time, Brahmaji gave him a very brief description about the time. That time is eternal. Time is eternal, and time is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maitreya Muni explained to Vidura. But there is a whole complete chapter which we are going to study in chapter 11th, next chapter, about the calculation of the time, how time works. So he gives, Maitreya Muni Maitreya Muni gave Vidura a very limited or very brief discussion about the time. And in order to explain time, he also brought 3 principles. Yes, about Kala, in order to explain time, how Kala destroy everything. We should not be going into that much of discussion here, because definitely we are going to read about time in the next chapter. So let's just focus about 9 creations first. So there are 9 types of creation. 6, I have explained that 6 creations is primary creation, or the creation of the elements of those 23 elements which has been created by the Supreme Lord, or by the Shakti of the Supreme Lord. And the rest of the 3 are being created by Brahmaji. And the 10th creation is the mixed creation by Brahmaji, and also the primary creation. So there is a mixed creation. So first creation, let's hear it very carefully. So there is a Prakriti, And the Prakriti is inside the body of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu is again the plenary portion of Lord Shri Krishna. And how he is the plenary portion of Lord Shri Krishna, I have explained before also by giving the chart of Goloka, Vaikuntha Loka, and then spiritual world, and in between Viraja river, and then material world. So he is the first Purusha incarnation in this material world who deals with the Shakti of Jiva and Maya. He is the one who is directly dealing with them, but he never get influenced by any of the potencies. It's just so in his body, Maya Shakti and Jiva Shakti resides. So Karanodakshai Vishnu, when it's the time for material creation, glances over the Prakriti. Now this Prakriti is a, we can say, a dull matter or dull mass, in which all the modes are inactive. Are inactive, and when the Mahavishnu, he glances, he impregnates this Prakriti with Jiva. And because the Jiva has consciousness, and because of those, because the consciousness of those Jivas, there is agitation. And also the Kala Shakti is also there, or the time factor. With the time factor, this time factor, we are going to read in next chapter, that it's as good as the Lord. He's the manifestation of the Supreme Lord in this material world. Time is eternal. Time is always existent in material world as well as in the spiritual world. So the first, this Prakriti, after getting the consciousness of Jivas and Kali Shakti, converts into Pradhana. And this Pradhana is carrying all the Jivas like a pregnant lady. And Pradhana, there are modes also, which are started to interact with each other, or these modes are being agitated. Now the first creation happened, and this first creation is of the Mahatattva. Mahatattva. Or we can say, when the mode of goodness increases in Pradhana, then Mahatattva comes out. Or we can say the Mahatattva is the first creation. It is the subtlest form of creation. Mahatattva. And then we can say sum total of material ingredients, Mahatattva. And in this Mahatattva, there is disturbance of gunas or modes of material nature by the Lord. And then when this happens, then second creation is the creation of false ego. Actually, if we go step by step according to the second canto, according to the second canto and the canto third, which we have read previously, there are detailed explanation which has been given. But here we can say it's a compact form of the entire process of creation. So the second creation is of false ego or mithya hankara. The creation of the elements doesn't mean that this living entity is going to get those layerings according to the steps the creations are happening. So the second creation is of the creation of false ego, of mithya hankara, or false ego is again is the product of material nature. So this false ego again interacts with sattva-guna, rajas, and tamas, mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. When this false ego comes, and from this false ego, 5 gross elements comes. These false ego generate five gross elements which are in the mode of ignorance or darkness. So earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So these 5 elements are in mode of ignorance or darkness. So all these things, chair, table, car, everything is made up of what? Mode of ignorance. This body, earth, water, fire, air, ether, is made up of this subtle, this gross body is what? Mode of ignorance or mode of darkness, where when false ego interact with mode of darkness. And then let me actually pull out this diagram if it's going to make it easier for all of us. Maybe not. Anyways, okay. So when this false ego interacts with or ahankara interacts with ignorance, I said gross elements, 5 gross elements just come out. So when ahankara or false ego, it interacts with different modes, 3 energies gets produced. And what are these 3 energies? Dravya Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and Jnana Shakti. What is Dravya Shakti? Dravya Shakti is all material ingredients, material things, material ingredients, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. That's Dravya Shakti. Yeah? But Dravya Shakti or the Dravya, or the material elements, if they are present, we need something so that we can work with, right? And for that reason, Kriya Shakti or the energy through which anybody can perform it activities comes. So when this ahankara gets into the interaction with mode of passion, Kriya Shakti or the energy through which anybody can work comes out. And when this ahankara interacts with mode of goodness, then Jnana Shakti. For doing any kind of, if I have this, pen, if I have a pen or say mobile phone, in order to use this dravya, I need to have some kind of action. So that is Karya Shakti, Kriya Shakti. And how to use this phone, I need that knowledge about it. So that's Gyan Shakti. So this false ego, it produces that by interacting with modes, it produces 3 Shaktis. Dravya Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and Gyan Shakti. Okay, so we were reading that second creation is the creation of false ego. Yeah? And false ego, we already saw that gross elements come. And what is the third creation has been explained? Third creation is the creation of the subtle elements. Now I have this grass body, but I need something like smell, sound, taste, touch. These are subtle elements. So these are called tan mantras. So the third creation of matter is what? Tan matras or subtle objects, which these senses can utilize and experience with. Now, the fourth creation. What is the fourth creation? Fourth creation is when this false ego, ahankara, interacts with the mode of passion. Mode of passion, and then it generates 10 senses. What are those 10 senses? 5 action senses and 5 knowledge acquiring senses. These senses are being created by false ego when it interacts with the mode of passion. Now, when I'm saying that senses have been created, that means the elements have been created. That does not mean that, hand is coming out. The elements, the concept is being created. The concept of hand, legs, mouth, eyes, nose, all these have been created, the concept, by the fourth creation. So what are the four creations? The first creation we have seen, the first creation is of Mahatattva, the sum total of all material ingredients. And the second creation we have seen, false ego. Through false ego, gross elements come. Gross elements come through false ego, and also the subtle objects comes in third creation, again in the mode of ignorance. And then in the fourth creation, knowledge and action senses, they come. So I have explained also this point that when when false ego interacts with the modes of material nature, three energy gets produced. And then the fifth creation, we are talking about the fifth creation in 17th verse. The fifth creation is when this false ahankara interact with the mode of goodness. It creates mind. It creates mind. So mind is in the mode of goodness. When false ego interacts with mode of goodness, mind, and also 10 controlling deities comes out. Now these controlling deities are the controlling deities of the elements. 23 elements. What are these 23 elements? 10 senses, 5 tanmatras or 5 subtle elements, 5 gross elements, and then intelligence, false ego, mind, intelligence, false ego, all these things. And sometimes they count Mahatattva also. So these 23 elements, the controlling deities, because somebody needs to get, somebody needs to be the controller of all these elements. So these 10 sense devatas, we call it, or 10 adhishtan devatas, anyway, all these are Sanskrit words, but in general, 10 controlling deities of the elements comes out in the fifth creation. Okay, so let me just show really quick. I have this chart because I know it's very confusing to explain it, with words. So let me show this chart. Is the screen visible?
Yes, Mata.
Okay. So we can see Pradhana, where 3 modes are inactive, in unmixed state. First creation is of Mahatattva. Mahatattva. This Sattva and Sutra Tattva has not been explained here, so I'm not going to take it. But Mahatattva is the first creation. And then we saw Ahankara, which is predominantly in Tamas, which we call false ego. That's the second creation. And when false ego comes with the interaction of the modes, 3 energies created: Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Dravya Shakti. But first of all, Dravya Shakti comes out because this Ahankara is predominantly in Tamas, or mode of ignorance. So mode of ignorance, this Dravya Shakti, or the material energy, right? Material energy comes out, and through this material energy, 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, 5 tanmatras, or the subtle objects, sound, smell, touch, sound, smell, touch, taste, form. These 5 tanmatras or subtle elements comes out. And then, but what is the use of this material things, right? When there is no action. So for doing that action, we need mode of passion. We need mode of passion. And when this ahankara interact with mode of passion, kriya shakti, or the activity, the energy to perform any action comes out, kriya shakti. And this kriya shakti, and we see next creation is 10 senses, 5 action senses and 5 five action senses and five knowledge acquiring senses. And prana also gets created. It has been explained in third and second. The five life airs have also been created by this kriya shakti or the ahankara in the mode of passion. But when this ahankara interacts, see these modes of material nature are present all the time. So when this ahankara interacts with mode of goodness, then jnana shakti, and with this jnana shakti, the power of jnana or knowledge, mind gets created, and 10 controlling deities. And today's verse number 17 is talking about this mind and 10 sense devatas. Mind or 10 controlling deities of the elements. Now, our discussion is not yet stopped because the main thing is still coming up. So all these five creations we have seen. So fifth creation we have seen is related to the ahankara in sattva, or false ego in the mode of goodness, creates mind and creates presiding deities over the senses and mind. And these five creations which we just read, and I showed the chart, right? So these five creations are related to the transformation of pradhana. What is the pradhana? Pradhana is prakriti or material nature. Okay. So this material nature is not false. It is temporary. This material nature is not false, but this material nature is temporary. But this sixth creation, which is going to happen now, is false, is completely false. It has no base. But this sixth creation is important to create so that this living entity can come in this material world and enjoy and try to lord it over the material resources. So creation of ignorance happens. Now this avidya, so Maya Devi or material Maya Shakti of the Lord, or external potency of the Lord, have components. Pradhana is a component of Maya Shakti. Vidya is a component. Vidya means knowledge, or we can say vidya, mode of sattva or mode of goodness, and avidya, mode of ignorance, is also a component. So this pradhana is not false, but it is temporary, definitely. But this avidya is false, or mode of creation of ignorance is false. So the sixth creation is completely false, and because of the presence of this sixth creation, this living entity who is actually superior to this material energy. Krishna is talking about this in 7th chapter, that I have superior energy which is above this inferior energy, and this superior energy is Jiva Tattva. And this Jiva is actually the master, is actually the master of the material energy. Not the master, it gets under the control of material nature, but this living entity is actually superior, its quality is superior, and is the master, and is the master of this body, of subtle body, gross body, and this living entity has the same quality like the Supreme Lord. But because of the presence of avidya, this living entity completely gets bewildered. And there are two potencies of Maya Devi. First is avidya, and the second is false ego. And and the Sanskrit words or the Hindi words for is avaran shakti and prapekshatmika shakti. One energy, what it does, it just forgets, the soul forgets that it is Satchidananda Rupa, that this soul has the same quality as the Supreme Lord, that it's all eternally blissful, knowledgeable, and happy. Eternal existence. This soul completely forgets due to the avaranatmak shakti, due to the curtain of mode of ignorance. And then false ego comes into picture, and the false ego, what it does, it just this living entity completely forgets about the consciousness of living entity, completely forgets about its real nature. But now this consciousness is entering into other identities which this living entity is not, like identity of being a woman, identity of being in the country of in a particular country, identity of being of certain complexion, identity of being working in certain company, identity of being connected with some family. So this false ego does that part. So this living entity completely forgetting about himself, not only forgetting about itself, but also connecting with some other identities which this living entity is not. So there are two things happening. First is forgetfulness, and the other is misconception or misidentification. These two things are happening. And these two things happen due to the presence of, or due to the creation of avidya. Due to the presence of avidya. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary to this verse, he is saying that Maya has three components or three conditions: Pradhana, Avidya, and Vidya, as I explained. But this Pradhana, the elements from the Mahatattva to earth are created, we have seen. And these are real creations. These are real creation. Huh? And subtle body, gross body, these are all real creations with subtle and gross bodies. But by avidya, they create five types of ignorance. And we are going to see that Brahmaji is going to create five types of ignorance, although it is counted under the primary creation. So what are these five types of ignorance? Avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesha. Now, what are these five? So, these five types of ignorance come when I have explained with the avaran shakti, or with the potency of covering this living entity with the mode of ignorance. This living entity who is bereft of the knowledge of Supreme Lord, who is bereft, this living entity completely forgets. But the karma is there. This living entity completely forget that I am soul. And then false ego also comes, and this false ego, the consciousness of soul, enters into the vrittis or the transformations of the mind, or in the transformations, in the dualities. And it has been, the process has been explained in 11th canto also. So now this living entity who is already bereft of the knowledge of supreme absolute truth, and on top of that forgot that I am soul, that I am full of knowledge, bliss, and uh, eternity, Satchidanand, Swarupa. I just completely forgot. Now this consciousness is entering into false ego, and then false ego is giving us another identity. And with that another identity, I am considering myself to be a woman, and because I am a woman and I belong to certain family, I belong to certain relationship, I have that impetus, I am avidya. So first ignorance is avidya. Avidya is ignorance. We know, um, made up of what? Made up of tamoguna. Asmita. Now, what is asmita? Asmita is when this living entity, asmita, this living entity completely identifies itself with something which this is not. So, avidya and then asmita. Asmita means that I am Madhavi Gaurangi, I am belong to this temple, I am this and that. Asmita. And because I have asmita or misidentification, I will have attachment to my own things. I will be having attachment to my own temple. I will have attachment to my own people. So that's raga. Raga, attachment. And at the same time, not only attachment, I will be having aversion from those things which does not belong to me, or which does not belong to Madhavi Gaurangi. Uh, so that is dvesha, dvesha, enviousness, or you can say dvesha is, yes, enviousness, uh, dejection, and then abhinivesha. What is abhinivation? Fear of death. Huh? Fear of death is because I consider myself body, I consider myself Madhvi Gaurangi, I consider myself to be mother of two children, I consider myself this. So all these layerings are coming. And these 5 layers have been created of ignorance or avidya, which is completely false. Hmm? Which is completely false. So we have seen Maya has 3 conditions: Pradhana, Avidya, and Vidya. And because of the Pradhana, the creation, the subtle body, gross body, this is true. But it's not false, it's true, but it's temporary. But at the same time, Avidya, the layers, Raga, Dvesha, Abhinevesha, Avidya, Asmita, all these are false, has no basis. Only my consciousness is misidentification is there because of the presence of avidya shakti. But now how this avidya is going to cut off? Huh? So we sing in morning prayers, Vede gaye jahara charito, prema bhakti jaha haite avidya vinashe jaite. Vede gaye jahara charito. So how this avidya is going to get cut? It is going to get cut by the sharp knowledge, or a sharp weapon of knowledge which has been given to us by our spiritual masters, or by our spiritual companions, maybe Shravan gurus, Shiksha gurus, or Diksha gurus, from whom we are listening, from whom we are taking the initiation, or for whom who are mentoring us in this life of spirituality. So this avidya can only be cut by the spiritual knowledge, by the process of devotional service, nothing else. So because of the presence of these 5 illusion curtains, this living entity who is the master, who is the master, or the in the superior in quality, then this inferior nature is getting fooled, and thinking that I am this, I am that, and just this living entity is circling around and around and around and around in the entire universe again and again and again and again and again, and thinking himself to be the doer, an intelligent person, but in fact he is a mudha, murk, or fool. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, ahankar vimud atma karta ham iti manyate prakrte kriye manani guna karmani sarvasa. So with guna and karma, everything is working with the modes of material nature and with the fruitive baggage. But this living entity who has no, who is not a culprit, he is thinking that I am the culprit, I am the one who is, it's just like that situation when somebody is stealing something, and police is after that person, and there is some other person, third person, who is thinking that I made that crime, I am the only one who is responsible for that crime. And not only that, he's in so much fear that police is cop is going to come and arrest me. I mean, complete foolishness and misidentification. So that's what has been explained. The avidya, and who is a person who is much more intelligent, he is going to come on, you did not make any mistake. Is the other person, it is the false ego. You are not at any mistake. Come on, you did not cheat, you did not commit any crime. Police is not going to arrest you, don't worry. Oh, okay. Now the spiritual master comes into picture. And Sanatana Goswami in his Hari Bhakti Vilas very nicely explains so many qualification of Guru, as well as of the disciple also. And the time is already there, so I'm going to stop. And thank you so much for giving me this wonderful opportunity to speak on the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. Whatever I have said, I have learned, I have studied according to my own Shravan, Bhajan, and Siksha gurus. It's nothing is my contribution. Srila Prabhupada's purport, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purport, that's how I explained by reading. Nothing is my contribution. So if anything went wrong, it's because of my shortcomings of not explaining it properly. And if anything you like it, it's because of our previous acharyas and our Srila Prabhupada and my Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Please bless me so that I may continue in my path of devotional service. If anybody has any comments, questions, or corrections, please go ahead. And thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, if anybody has questions, please just unmute yourself and go ahead. So far, I don't see any hands up. All I have to say is, we have been hearing again and again that this topic of creation, as difficult as it is to understand, is very important to understand. And I am still stuck at very difficult to understand. I'm trying my best, but it is pretty complicated. But at the very end, you said, with the weapon of knowledge, which hopefully I will get from, mercy from my guru and from Srila Prabhupada and from Krishna. Hopefully it will get there.
Definitely.
All right.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for giving the opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuva evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.